Welcome, confidential listeners, to a place where the shadows of the past are longer than the skyscrapers of Chicago. Tonight's archive was sent to me by a woman named Grace, a soul who learned that the universe has a cruel sense of irony and that some debts are paid in blood you didn't even know you shared. It is a diary of a forbidden love, a mother's survival, and a single bullet that traveled 20 years to find its target. Titled, The Officer's Bloodline, The Secret That Died in the Street. So, close the door, turn down the lights, and listen closely, because the audience for this truth is only you. Chicago winters have a way of making you feel your place in the world. I was 20 years old, a girl from the sticks with nothing but a clean apron and a quiet voice, working as a maid in a penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan. The floors were marble, the air smelled of expensive cigars, and I was invisible. Or I should have been. I spent my days polishing silver that reflected a life I'd never lead, moving like a ghost through the halls of the wealthy. Then there was Paul. He was the master's son, 16, with eyes that looked like the lake on a clear day, and a smile that made me forget I was the one cleaning his room. He was the heir to a real estate empire, and I was the girl who changed his sheets. I knew it was poison. Every time our hands brushed while I handed him his books, I felt the ground shifting under me. I spent nights in my small servants' quarters, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he saw a woman when he looked at me, or just the help. I was terrified he was just taking a piece of me, as they say, a temporary thrill before he found a girl of his own status. But my God, how I loved him. It was a sincere, agonizing love that kept me awake until the sirens of the city faded into dawn. I was trapped in a fairy tale written by a ghostwriter who hated happy endings. Paul's father, Henry, was a man made of stone and iron. He was a titan of industry who ruled that penthouse like a prison. Because of him, Paul and I lived in the spaces between the seconds. We shared kisses in the pantry, hushed whispers in the library, and a secret that felt heavier than the building itself. We were building a bridge out of shadows, hoping the light would never find us. I remember the day I finally broke. I looked at him in the dim light of the afternoon, the city humming 30 floors below. Paul, tell me the truth. Is this just a game? Are you just waiting for your father to find a girl with a trust fund and a famous last name to replace me? He grabbed my shoulders, his grip desperate and young. I love you, Grace. You're the only thing in this house that's real. Don't you see? You're my everything. Then tell him. If you love me, tell Henry. Let us be real in the daylight. He said, I can't. Not yet. You don't know the old man. He'd throw me out and he'd destroy you. Just give me time. Have a little patience. He was a boy playing a man's game, and I was a woman betting my life on a boy's courage. We kept our secret, meeting in the quiet hours while Henry was at the office, unaware that the clock was already ticking toward our destruction. It was a Thursday, a day like any other. Henry, Paul's father, was supposed to be on a business trip to New York. The penthouse, usually a mausoleum of silence, felt alive with a forbidden freedom. Paul and I were in his opulent bedroom, surrounded by trophies and textbooks, living out our stolen moments, utterly oblivious to the storm gathering outside the marble walls. The Chicago skyline, usually a beacon of opportunity, felt like a cowering witness to our foolishness. It was around 2:30 p.m. when the world exploded. We were lost in a kiss, the scent of his cologne filling my senses when the door burst open. Henry stood there, a shadow in the doorway, his face a mask of incandescent fury. His eyes, usually cold, were now burning holes through us. I didn't know where to look, where to hide. The shame was a physical blow, a burning flush that crept up my neck. What in God's name is this disgrace? What do you think you're doing, girl? Get out! Get back to your duties now! And you insolent fool, is this why I pay for your Ivy League prep? To defile my house with the help? Get up! Paul, for all his whispered promises, froze. He didn't move a muscle. He was paralyzed by the rage of his father. I don't know which of us was more terrified. Henry's fury was a force of nature. He canceled his trip, his voice echoing like thunder through the polished halls, spewing vile accusations at both of us, things I don't even have the courage to repeat here. He accused me of being a gold digger, of trying to trap his son. His words were acid, dissolving every shred of dignity I thought I had. I had never been so humiliated in my entire life. My carefully constructed shield of quiet competence shattered into a million pieces at his feet. I expected Paul to defend me. I prayed for it. He'd sworn he loved me, hadn't he? This was his moment, his chance to face his father, to prove his words were real. Father, please, it's not like that. I love Grace. Love, you foolish boy. You're insane. And you, girl, get your things. I don't want to see you in this house for another second. Get out. No, Father. Sending Grace away won't change anything. We'll still find a way to be together. You dare defy me? This is what we'll see. I'll send you to your mother in Los Angeles, or worse, to boarding school overseas if you so much as breathe her name again. It was one of the worst days of my life, if not the absolute worst. Paul, for the first time, stood up to his father, and for me, no less. A tiny, foolish part of me felt a flicker of pride, but it was quickly extinguished. I was dragged out of that house with nothing but the clothes on my back. Henry didn't even give me bus fare. He stood at the grand doorway, a silhouette of contempt, watching me descend into the harsh Chicago winter. What hurt most was being torn away from the love of my life. I had no one in Chicago, no family, no friends. I was alone, a girl from nowhere, now with nowhere to go. I walked for hours, the biting wind whipping my hair, the cold seeping into my bones, a stark contrast to the pampered warmth of the penthouse. The city lights, once a promise, now mocked my isolation. I'm not ashamed to confess that I begged for change on street corners. It was either that or starve. I faced hunger, cold, and a terrifying loneliness. Every passing car seemed to judge me. Every shadow felt like a threat. Little did I know, the worst was still to come. A short time later, a different kind of cold dread settled in my stomach. I realized I was pregnant. When I saw those 2 pink lines, I didn't feel joy. I felt a paralyzing terror that started in my feet and moved to my throat. I hadn't created this child alone, and Paul had a right to know. I gathered what little strength I had left, smoothed my tattered coat, and walked back to that Gold Coast penthouse one last time. I was a shadow of the girl who had polished those marble floors just weeks before. I didn't even get past the lobby. Henry was there, stepping out of a black sedan, looking as cold and untouchable as the skyscrapers around him. "Sir, please, I need to speak to Paul. It's important. I'm carrying his child." He didn't even flinch. He looked at me with a disgust so pure it felt like he was looking at a stain on the sidewalk. "You are as delusional as you are pathetic. I have no idea whose breath that is, but it isn't my son's. Paul is gone, Grace. He's halfway across the country at a military academy, focusing on his future, a future that doesn't include a street beggar like you. Don't come here again, or I'll have the police remove you permanently." The world went gray. The rain in Chicago turned to ice against my cheeks as I realized Paul was truly gone. He hadn't fought for me. He had been erased from my life by a man with a checkbook and a heart of stone. I stood on the corner of North Avenue watching the wealthy pass by, and I realized I was officially a ghost. I didn't wish the things I lived through on anyone. The hunger was a constant gnawing animal in my stomach, and the shame was a cloak I could never take off. They say God is a father, not a stepfather. I believe that because I was months into living in shelters and abandoned doorways when Sarah found me. I was 7 months pregnant, huddled under a thin blanket near a subway grate, my stomach a heavy, pulsing weight that felt like my only connection to a life I once had. Sarah was a widow with a heart as big as the city. She saw me, sludgy and weeping, and she didn't look away. It was in her small apartment on the south side that Danny was born. He came into the world with a cry that sounded like defiance, and when they placed him in my arms, my heart stopped. He was the mirror image of Paul, the same eyes, the same stubborn chin. For 9 years, I worked for Sarah, cleaning houses and saving every cent, living a quiet, invisible life. I was a mother first, a survivor second, and a woman who had buried her heart in a Gold Coast penthouse a long time ago. I never touched another man. I tried, but after Paul, my soul was a locked room. I carried that love like a dormant virus, waiting for a cure that would never come. I would walk past the old house sometimes, hoping for a glimpse of him, but I knew Henry had won. I told myself Paul was a dream I'd had in another life, but every time Danny looked at me, the dream became a haunting reality. I raised him to be kind, to be better than the world that had discarded us, unaware that the streets of Chicago were already whispering his name. Time in Chicago doesn't just pass, it erodes you. Danny grew up fast, a boy with Paul's charisma and my desperate heart. By the time he was 16, the same age his father was when he broke my world, he was a man-child, restless and beautiful. But the streets of the South Side are a hungry beast, always looking for boys who feel like they have nothing to lose. I worked double shifts, scrubbing floors until my hands bled, trying to keep him in school, trying to keep him clean. But I was a mother trying to hold back the ocean with a broom. I didn't see the shadows creeping into his eyes. I didn't see the way he looked at the polished cars of the wealthy with a bitterness that tasted like iron. I felt him slipping away. He started coming home late, his clothes smelling of cheap weed and adrenaline. When I asked him where he'd been, he'd just look at the floor, his jaw set in that stubborn Antunes way. He was looking for a father in the local gangs because I couldn't give him the one who lived in the skyscrapers. I lived in a state of constant low-grade fever, waiting for a phone call I hoped would never come. I blamed myself. I felt the guilt of every missed dinner and every tired sigh. I was so busy fighting to survive that I didn't realize my son had already declared war on the world. The explosion didn't happen with a bang, it happened with a siren. It was a Tuesday night, the kind of humid Chicago night where the air feels like it's waiting to catch fire. I was sitting in my kitchen, a single light bulb flickering overhead when the news report flashed on the screen. A botched robbery at a convenience store. 3 suspects, 1 dead on the scene. My world turned to static. Danny. My Danny, only 16 years old, should have been at the park or studying or dreaming of a future. Instead, he was lying on a cold linoleum floor with a revolver he didn't know how to use. He wasn't a criminal. He was a boy playing a game he didn't understand. The suspect was shot and killed by a responding officer after refusing to drop his weapon. The officer, a veteran of the CPD, is currently under administrative leave. I fell to my knees, the linoleum cold against my skin, as the realization hit me like a physical weight. My son was gone. My everything was gone. I felt a remorse that I knew would follow me to my grave, a crushing weight of what if that threatened to stop my own heart. But the universe wasn't done with me yet. It had one final jagged piece of glass to shove into my soul. I looked at the screen as they showed the officer being led away, his face obscured by the shadows and the flashing blue lights, never imagining that I was looking at the man I had spent 20 years trying to forget. The funeral was a blur of gray rain and silent screens. I felt like a walking corpse, moving through a world that had lost all its color. But the true death happened the next morning when I opened the Chicago Tribune. The paper felt like lead in my hands, the ink staining my fingers like ash. There, on the front page, was the photograph of the officer involved in the shooting. I nearly died where I stood. The room spun, the walls of my small apartment closing in on me as the face of the man who killed my son stared back from the newsprint. I would recognize that face after 1,000,000 years. It was Paul, my Paul. Older, his jawline harder, his eyes weathered by 20 years of holding the line in a broken city. But it was him. The boy who had promised me the world in a Gold Coast pantry was now the man who had ended the only world I had left. It wasn't just a coincidence. It was a curse. Paul Antunes. The name was right there in the caption. He had become exactly what his father wanted, a pillar of the establishment, a protector of the very marble halls that had spit me out. He had fired a bullet into an outlaw in a convenience store, never knowing he was executing his own flesh and blood. He had spent his career chasing shadows, only to destroy the only light he had ever truly created. I sat there for hours, the paper trembling in my grip, realizing that the universe had played the cruelest joke imaginable. The father had finally met the son, and he had met him through the sights of a service weapon. I am 59 years old today. I eventually married a kind man, a man who offered me a name and a quiet life out of pity and gratitude. But my heart has been a graveyard for decades. I have 2 other children now, and I love them with a fierce, protective ache. But the hole in my soul where Danny lived is a wound that refuses to scar over. I never went to Paul. I never stood at the precinct or his suburban home to tell him that the boy he shot was the son he never knew he had. I thought about it. I even walked to the doors of the station once, my heart pounding with a toxic mix of vengeance and grief. But I stopped. What would it change? It would only destroy the life he had built, and it wouldn't bring my Danny back. Let him live with his clean record. Let him believe he did his duty. I will carry the weight of the truth alone, just as I carried the weight of our child for 9 months in the cold. I often wonder how my life would have been if Henry hadn't separated us. My son would be 36 today. He would be an architect or a lawyer or maybe just a father himself. Instead, he is a memory in a South Side cemetery. Paul and I are linked forever, not by the rings we never wore, but by the blood of a child shed in the street. Love and disgrace, they are the same thread in my story. I spend my days in the quiet corners of my mind, remembering the boy in the pantry and the boy in the morgue, knowing that in the city of Chicago, the wind doesn't just blow, it weeps. And that is the final entry from Grace's archive. A story that proves the past is never truly buried. It's just waiting for the right moment to strike. A father's duty and a mother's silence colliding in a single tragic second under the neon lights of a city that never forgives. If this journey through the wreckage of a double life has stayed with you, please leave a like on this video and subscribe to our channel. Help us continue to unbox these hidden truths from the secrets inbox. Click the bell icon so you never miss the next entry. But now, a final question for you, our confidential listeners. Was Grace right to keep the truth from Paul, or did he deserve to know the price of the life he chose? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Because in a city as cold as Chicago, the only thing more dangerous than a bullet is a secret that's been kept too long. Until next time, stay safe and keep your secrets close. Good night.